investment. Are we on? Okay. Oh, back to that. Just revisiting the customer buyer's benefit thing. We've talked about this before. So many of us, when we're talking about what are you going to go and do, you'll rattle off all the features of what you're going to do. We're going to get out our cosmetics and we're going to put lipstick on and we're going to put eyeshadow on. You know, you're going to go through. That's actually, you're just telling me the features. You're not actually telling me the benefits that are going to happen. When they released iPod, most of the MP3 players at the time were saying things like, this MP3 player has 1 gigabyte of storage, or this MP has 500 whatever of storage. When Apple reduced it, when they launched it, they said, it's 1,000 songs in your pocket. You see, they got away from the whole idea of the features and all that sort of stuff, and they actually explained the benefit to you. You can carry 1,000 songs in your pocket. They immediately touched the benefit. And that's where the customers live. And when you start selling things at where the customers value, you can start getting value for yourself. While you're just fighting down there on features, you've got no value add. And in no value add, you can't get prices. So we need to understand this customer benefit. A feature is what a product does. A benefit is what the customer can do with your product. And I really like this. People are not looking for a better product. People aren't looking for a better makeup artist. They're not looking for a better chef, a better coffee person. What they're wanting is a better life. That's what they want. They want a better life. And when you start to see that, when you start to tap into, you know, so that when you're going in, Veronica, when you're going into those houses and doing what you're going to do, you know, they want a better life out of it. They're not interested in your features that it comes with 3 hours of this and two this and 7 saucepans and 48 ingredients. What they want is that when you've left, they've actually got a better life. They're enjoying their life a lot better because you came into it and provided that service. And this is really important. If you can tap into how can I give my customer a better life, if you can tap into that and you can present your business in that form, suddenly price starts to become. I know when you know, they do subjective margin on me a lot. And one of those occasions is a beautiful restaurant in Fiji. I don't know whether anyone's been there. It's called Ports of Call. Probably haven't been there, but it's just an amazing experience. And every time I've taken people there, they enjoy it so much. I don't even think about the price. I just hand them my card. I don't even question. I just, whatever it is, just charge it. You know, I'll pay it off over the next 3 years. I don't care. Because right now, tonight, we are experiencing something that is only going to be destroyed if you give me a bill and I see how much it is. I just want this moment to be this moment. And what I'm buying in that mindset, they could add an extra $200 to that what I paid, and I wouldn't be offended because it's such a beautiful restaurant. It's if ever you get the chance to go there, it's just a magnificent restaurant, and it's more the way they serve you, the way they're forever singing. You know, happy birthdays and Isolé and all that sort of stuff. And they're constantly on show. Everything that they do is theatre. There's no, here's your meal. Or every time you get a meal served, it's some sort of theatre, some sort of blazing thing that comes from the sky. You know, and you get this food in front of you. That night would only be spoiled by me knowing how much that price was. I just want to just charge the card. We'll think about that tomorrow, you know. And when you get me in that frame of mind, and you guys have been there too, you know, that's what nightclubs work on. That's what you know, State of Origin did to us, although we're pretty dirty, I think. They tap into something that they know they can get away and get those margins. So just think about this one. What your customers are looking for is not a better product. They're looking for a better life. How is what you're going to do make that customer's life better? Target that, and you start to target subjective margins. And subjective margins, guys, are for you. If you can tap into that and price at subjective margins, you get yourself a business that works well. So if you sell benefits, you get margins. If you're going to sell features, you're going to get a commodity, you're going to get a wage. If you sell benefits, you make people's lives better, you're going to get margins. Margins are going to give you a really good life. Some pricing strategies. Your prices should always be authorized. Your prices are made by God. handwritten prices, sometimes you have to in cafes and you can get away with it. Mostly your prices look like they came from God. They didn't come from you that morning, say, let's sell it for $12.95. They look authorised. You know, it's very important that your prices look fixed, you know, look like non-negotiable. You've got to have a budget price. No assortment in today's age can live without a budget price. So in everything you do, you've got to have the budget. But you don't have to have 10 of them, just one. You just have to have the budget price. And the reason you have that is you say to customers, when they come in and say, oh, your stuff's expensive, we say, what do you mean? There's a ham sandwich there, or there's a certain product that's very cheap. The problem here is not with our pricing, the problem is your taste. You've got expensive taste, mate. You need to be able to say that, because remember, you know, when you're selling, you know, you're constantly out there, and you don't want to be labelled with expensive. So you need to be able to explain to the customer, you just want chicken sandwiches. Mate, chicken sandwiches are really expensive. If you were prepared to have an egg sandwich, hey, we've got that cheap. If cheap is what you want, we've got cheap. You know, and that's the same with all of you guys. You should have a product that's cheap, but it's a nominal product. You don't have a range of cheap. You just have one. And the next price after cheap is actually right up to here. You go from cheap and then you jump right to your middle price. You don't have, you know, gradients after cheap. You need to have a cheap so that you can make that statement. It's not our prices that are dear, it's your taste. You've got expensive taste. You want expensive products, you know, and so it's your tastes that are the problem, not my prices. Kit and bundle, you know, this is a proven, when they've done tests on this sort of stuff, bundling is not only adds to convenience. Most of us like the kit, don't we? You know, you think about the times when you go to buy, the person can say, look, you can cherry pick, and or you can just buy the bundle. Just sign up to this and you get all of this, and you're like, oh, that'll do me. I don't have to think about it. Not only is it really good from a convenience point of view, which is a wonderful product to sell, convenience, it also disguises price. When you buy a kit of something, it's hard for people to figure out, you know, how much an hour or how much per product. You don't want them getting down to there, because they'll soon discover. And we used to do this. I did this with knitting balls. I used to sell knitting balls. Hard to believe, but that was my first business. Mm-hmm. And knitting balls in those days, Totem. Anyone that's into knitting would know Totem and all these Bluebell, and they would sell for, you know, $4 a ball, that sort of price. And it was very hard to get $4.20 for them, because everyone knew they were $4 a ball. Totem, everyone sells them. Myers sell it for $4 a ball. David Jones, so you can't sell it for more than $4 a ball. What we did, this is at the time, none of you are old enough to remember this, but Summers came on to Hey Hey It's Saturday, and he wore a Ned Kelly hand-knitted picture jumper. Well, we just got inundated with, I need to get all the wool to make that jumper. So we actually went and kitted it up. It's 2 balls of this, 3 balls of that. It's this pattern, it's 1 ball of this, it's 6 balls of that. And we actually went and made a kit. And you know what we did with that kit? We charged twice. We were charging $8 a ball. But the customer didn't know it was $8 a ball. They just saw it for $69. And they said, well, hey, $69, I can get a jumper. But we did another clever thing. We actually got one knitted, and we put it on a stand, and we said, buy this for $500. We created a referral pricing. We said, buy this for $500, and everyone goes, yeah, a fashion outfit like that for $500, fair enough, hand knitted, fancy Australian themed thing, or buy the kit for $70. What they didn't realise is the $70 was twice the prices of the balls of wool that we used to sell in the shelves at $4 a ball. And so we created a bundle, and the price was completely went out the window. So we not only bundled, we also created a reference. And we nearly built a business on that. Didn't quite get it off the ground, unfortunately. Ran out of cash. Big Mac your hamburgers, break it easy, you know, make it hard to compare it. If you said, you know, Hungry Jack's sell 2 burgers with a slab and a cheese for $3.80, and McDonald's sell 2 things with cheese for $3.80, there's an easy comparison. So what they call it, that we sell a Big Mac, and they sell a completely different thing. They sell a, whatever it is they sell, a Whopper. So think about not calling your products by their generic name. Think about calling your products by a name that's that is hard to refer, hard to sort of compare. So you just bundle it up and give your customers a different name for that product. I said this about, someone asked me once about trying to get subjective margins, and one way to get subjective margins is to bring in all the story. You see that, when you read restaurant menus, it's juiced with something, and come on, chefs, they carry on. It just goes on forever. It ends up being a potato with a bit of cheese on the top, But the way they described it, it looked like, my God, this is just unbelievable, And they have a way with words to make it sound, you're just about getting very excited now. I don't know why I told you all that. I'll remember it later. I'll get back to it. But anyway, describing things, giving things.
Considering the product's not most generic.
I'll come back to it. Anyway, this decoy effect is another really important one, and we use this one. We use this one a lot, and that one I told you about, where the wine at $300 a bottle, they don't sell any of those bottles. They've never sold them. In fact, I don't even know whether they've got it in stock, because no one ever orders it. But boy, does it take the pressure off all the other prices. This pricing decoy, where you have things in your assortment that you actually never sell, you never plan to sell them, but they sit there making everything else work for you. And they've already done this test, and you guys are all victims of this if you've been to the popcorn place. They've done this test, and they offered two sizes. They said, we've got a $3 and a $7. Which would you like? And the sales were sort of like 50-50. In fact, most people said, no, just give us the small. The small will be fine, you see. And most people gravitated to the small when given that choice. But then what they did is they did this. They made the medium $6.50. What looks really good value there now?
The $7.
The large looks outstanding value. Now, they will never sell medium at $6.50, will they? It's in the range, it's marketed as a product, but it's a decoy product. It's not intended to be sold. What it's intended to do is show the value of the $7. So what customers did, there was a rush for the $7 bucket, because they said, well, this is just terrific value. Because, I mean, the medium, you say to the wife, but the medium's $6.50, I'm saving you so much money, I'm buying the $7 one. What value I'm creating for you, And when you do the sales analysis, they never sold a medium. And they didn't intend to sell the medium, but it was a wonderful decoy product. It's a reference product. And you think, oh, this is a con feeder. Tomorrow, or when you get a chance, go and have a look at people that are pricing three things. You will see that one of them is outstanding value. It's outstanding because the other thing that they're offering is not good value. What were you going to say, John?
Is that sort of what Subway does with the foot one as well?
They might.
It's one that's just a couple of dollars cheaper.
What they do is they create the value in the store. Because you're sitting there saying, is this, all of us ask the question, is this good value, don't you? And you really should be comparing good value with other stores, but are the other stores there? No, they're down the road, and I can't run down and check them, maybe mobile. What you can do is look at the board and say, you know what, that $7 is really good value. And you know what you do? I'll take the $7, that's the good value. Because you've got a reference pricing or a decoy. So which one would you choose? Create value, provide a reference. So this reference pricing is very, very powerful. You've got to think about stuff. For some of you, it might be you really don't want to sell a one-off. You actually want to sell a bundle. So what you do is you make the one-off really expensive. Say, sure, we can do one of everything, but when you add it all up, you're better off with the bundle. And the bundle is already set at a price that you're happy with anyway. You're not giving a discount. The bundle is actually the price you want. Yeah. Then you work backwards to the individual, and you make sure the individual prices are really expensive. Because you actually don't want to sell them individual products, you want to sell them the bundle. Because the bundle for you is a better product because you're tooled up for it. You know that you can get economies of scale out of it and all that sort of stuff. So you actually then price the individual components so high that everyone says, oh, you wouldn't do that. I had a customer, I call them customers, you guys become customers after you leave the course, the students today. They came back and they said, we want to go into this particular product. And they said, but when you look at it, The guy was an idiot. Well, it was worse though. He was trying to sell this particular product, and it was just so expensive. And really, when you look at the machine that he also comes and installs in the house, really, that's where the value is. Why would you buy the stuff delivered when you could install this thing in your house, had to do with water, you could install this thing and save so much more money? And she was actually going off at the guy saying, it's just ridiculous, it's just far too expensive. But what she didn't realise is the guy was saying, I actually don't want to sell you the product. I actually want to sell you the machine. But the only way I can create value for the machine is show you how expensive this particular product is delivered. Does that make sense? So you have to work this. You've got to play this game because everyone else is doing it. You know, this is the game that creates margins. This is the game that turns your business from a wage and turns your business from a suspect financial stability to something that genuinely works. It's something, and if you like me to say, it's something that you don't have to work in it, that you can pay staff to run your business, and you get a 40% return on investment. That is a proper business. If you're not getting that, you haven't got a business. You've got something else, a cross between a wage and a hobby. You know, the way to turn it into a business is a lot of what I'm talking about today. So then we get to situational pricing, which I call subjective margins. I have all these different names for it. This is another Peter Baskervillism, so don't go and look up the the computer and look for subjective margins, because the only articles you'll read are probably mine anyway. Interestingly, I think this was another Forbes publication. I think this was one of my 4 publications where I spoke about this. Subjective margins or situational pricing. It's the glass of water in the desert. That's pricing to a situation. It's the locksmith letting the person in with the puppies at 8 o'clock at night and the shopping and the frazzled, and, you know, understanding that here's a customer who's prepared to pay subjective margin. It's the plumber that comes out at 3 in the morning because your toilet is backed up. How much are you going to pay that guy? How much? No. How much is it worth to you? Is he an idiot to say, my normal charge out rate is $60 an hour? He's not going to say that. He's going to say, I'll come out at 3 in the morning, it's $500, give me your credit card and I'll come out. Because he needs to price those subjective margin products, because when he does that, he gets paid in a way that makes his business a proper business. And it gets it away from just being a wage, all right? So here's some things that, this is where subjective or situational pricing exists. You've got to think about either creating this or taking advantage of it. Urgency is one. These guys do it. FedEx do it. FedEx have built their whole business on, what do they say? If it absolutely has to be there overnight. Now, some things that you have to send interstate don't actually have to be there overnight.
Wasn't that Comet?
I think it's FedEx, but it could be Comet. I don't care. Yeah. The story's the same. When it's your turn, you can tell your story. Sorry. This is my story. Think about this. I don't know any of you in legal stuff, but you know, there's some documents that have to exchange by 5 o'clock a particular day, and they have on the document because time is of the essence. If you miss that deadline, the whole deal goes down. Some of those deals are $1 million deals. You end up getting sued for millions of dollars. So how much would I be prepared to pay for this document to get to Sydney absolutely by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock? What's it worth to me? It's not worth to me the price of the stamp and it's worth to me what I'm going to lose out of that deal. I'm in a situation where price is no longer the issue. The issue is to get this thing to Sydney. And the guy says that'll be $822. You say, not a problem, because this is a multi-million-dollar deal. I don't want to go wrong. You know what I mean? Whereas normally, the guy wants to send something to his grandkids next week for a birthday present. The guy goes, $822, says, no thanks. I'll go and find a stamp at 62 cents and put it in the post, and if it gets there, who cares? Because there's no subjective margins there. You know, the subjective margins is this, or situational pricing is with this document that has to be there overnight. So people, and you can build this in. Those of you that are offering services, and I had one of my customers I'm going to call them customers now. One of my, because you're getting there, you're getting to the end of the course, you're going to turn into customers. One of my customers, they said what they used to have is the silver bullet service. Now the guy he did powder coating. The guy could powder coat stuff in 2 days. Yeah, that's what he could do. But he actually put on his brochure, we powder coat in 3 to 4 days. But if you want the silver bullet service, which is the 2-day one, which is this normal one, you pay 50% more. And so when the customer comes, he says, well, you know, our standard turnaround is 3 to 4 days. And they're going, oh, can you do it cheaper? Well, you can do our super bullet service, which is a 2-day turnaround. Yeah, I'm in. It costs 50% more. I don't care. I need this done in 2 days. So you're taking advantage of their need for urgency, but actually it's within the same time frame as you. Do you understand that? So what you've done is just created subjective margin. You've created a situational price. And you're taking advantage of the customer's viewpoint, which is then you're turning into a profitable business. Yeah. Look, if you don't play this game, you know the other game you play? You listen to the customer, they beat you down, and you run yourself a business that actually goes broke, or at worst pays your wage, if you're lucky. You know, this is the game we're playing. So we actually have to play with customers' heads. Yeah. And I'm telling you the secrets of what everyone else does. So you need to be taking notes and say, how can I build this into my business? Because if you give the customer, you know that some people say, you've got to give the customer what they want. You know what they want? They want you to do everything for them for nothing. That's what they want. That's what you guys want. You know, very few of you say, oh, I think I need to pay $5 for my coffee because I want to make sure you're there every morning to serve me. Very few people are that advanced, you know. Most people are thinking, if you could give that coffee to me for free and you would do this for me every day, that's what I would do. All right, next one. Self-esteem. Can you turn your product? Can you add self-esteem to your product? Can you create some self-esteem around your product? Can you do something that improves their group acceptance? A brand name or a product aligned with the latest fashion or social cause or latest tech or innovation. How can you play the self-esteem card? And we were talking about that, Veronica, weren't we? You know, about how that can help someone that you are trying to help, and you add self-esteem, a wonderful thing. When people are getting added self-esteem, they have no value. They have no concept of price when their self-esteem is being enhanced. How can you add self-esteem to your product? We can talk about it. The bad guys do it all the time, guys. The brand name people do it to you all the time. You're actually not buying that bag. You're buying the self-esteem. So. Pain relief is a wonderful thing. You know, pain relief, when people pay anything to relieve a pressing pain, you know, I often think of the roadside assistance. I don't know whether any of you call the RACQ when you're, how good is that?
Flat battery price.
How good, what a great feeling that is, you know? Like you are in incredible pain, aren't you, right there? And you, My car was in Sydney, in one of the main streets in Sydney, and it broke down. And I just got out as quickly as I could. I lifted up the bonnet and I got around the corner and stood there and hoped no one knew it was me. And then I rang the RACQ and said, come and help me. I was in a world of pain. Luckily, no one actually, everyone that was swearing at this car that was blocked didn't know the guy on the corner was actually the guy who owned it, because I wasn't going to stand anywhere near that car. But roadside vehicle breakdown, you're in a world of pain. If that guy says it's $180, you know what? You say that's a pretty good price. They don't, which is absolutely marvellous, because they make you buy a membership. If you hear if you ring up and you're not a member, they sign you up immediately. That's what you have to pay. So you've got to buy a year's membership. But pain relief. Are you solving a pain now? Is you know that person with the backed up toilet at 3 in the morning? Boy, that is a pain relief. There's subjective margins there if you want it. You need to be tooled up for it. You need to know what to say. You need to have that pricing. You say our emergency 1-hour response is a minimum of $500 call out. If I can have your credit card details, we'll be out there within the hour. And they will pay it. If you say my normal charge out fees is $60 an hour, which is fine during the day when people want you know, their tap washers replaced. That's fine. That's $60. That's all it's worth, because in that situation they can ring up someone else. They've got you. You're prepared to come out. There's $500 there for you if you are set up for it. If you understand This is a situational pricing. I need to get this money. And you need to get this money because you're trying to build a business that's profitable. You're not trying to build a business that barely covers its costs. Fear mitigation. Lawyers use it all the time. Buy a product because it offers safety or security for fear. Every insurance product, most legal services, anything to do with compliance, because what you're really selling these people is peace of mind. And we talked about that in Test and Tag. You would go in and you'd create fear. That's what the lawyers do. You know, I've been in lawyers' offices enough. I've been there so many times, and they're champions at it. You know, you say, well, should I do this? Should I spend this $1,000 or $1,500 in safeguarding this thing? And they go, well, I think you should, because you know what? Back in '86, there was this one guy that didn't do what you're about to do, and he lost his house. Now, there's been 50,000 incidences without anything happening. But there was one time in '86 where it did happen, and they blow it up, and they show you how the guy lost it. And you know why they do that? Because they say fear, and you're sitting there and your heart's going boom, 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 boom. And then they say, but for $1,200, we can solve it. We have this agreement, both sign, and everyone's happy. Of course, the agreement mostly means nothing. It just gets you to court to another state. Fear mitigation, selling peace of mind. You know, underlying value. I'm trying to be drumming into you since the start of this course about selling underlying value. What is the underlying thing that you're really doing? Because that's the product the customer's buying. That's the one they value. That's the one that you've got to make sure you price so that you make some money out of it. Yeah. So, is there fear mitigation? Is there things that you can present? If it's a product that you sell that has to do with compliance, legals, their kids, yeah, it's a nice one. You know, if you don't do this, your kids will die. You know, maybe we won't do that, but you get the idea. You know, is there a fear mitigation play that should be involved in your products? And because then you say, don't worry, we will look after it. If we look after it, we give you peace of mind. So you're actually not buying an insurance product, you're buying peace of mind. That's what you're really buying. Because I'm actually not going to be around to enjoy the insurance that my kids are all going to get. So really, I'm not doing it for me, but I'm doing it for peace of mind right now. I would like to have some peace of mind right now while I'm living, not that I'm going to be a beneficiary to the money that comes after I've gone. So fear mitigation is that one. Scarcity. These guys are famous at it, aren't they? They create a cricket bat or they create a poster. And what do? They make 100 of them. They could make 1,000 of them, couldn't they? They could make 10,000 of them, but what do? They make 100. They actually create scarcity. They actually say, this is a scarce product. It's not a scarce product, they just created the scarcity. So therefore, that poster signed by whoever it is, Adam Gilchrist, becomes valuable. But they create the value by creating the scarcity. You get this scarcity. So when people pay extra because there's no other alternative, limited range offer, hot chips or beer at the football, how many of you have gone up there and you said, just two beers and 2 chips, that'll be $82, thanks. And you go, how did that get to $82? It's 2 beers and 2 chips. And, you know, you sort of sit there and say, that's expensive, but what are you going to do about it? Go down the stairs, go out and down to McDonald's, get in the car, go, and the game's over, isn't it? By the time you get back. They've got you. And while they've got you, you know what they'll do? They'll put the price up. So they are charging situational prices on you. And you're paying it. And you're paying it gladly. You know why? Because there's no other alternative. Have you got a situation? Can you create scarcity? Are there products that you could create that create some scarcity that you could get subjective margins? Or if you like, situational pricing. Quality sounding name. We can all do this, guys. We can all just have a bit of a think tank. And instead of calling it, you know, top of the range, middle of the range, lower the range, let's be creative here. I remembered what I was going to say. I often used to say to people, why can't you say that the herbs that went into this thing are grown on the Himalayas, on the western side of the Himalayas, and they're an exotic herb that is hand-plucked and is put on donkeys and taken down the mountain and it's hand-packed and, you know, why can't you do that? And then I saw a Himalayan salt. There is a Himalayan salt.
Yeah, it's pink salt.
Yeah, pink salt. And I thought, well, if there's ever subjective margins, that's it. This is Himalayan salt. This is not your local just go down to the beach and get salt. This is stuff you have to climb 14,000 kilometres to get, you know. So it had, for me, situational pricing or subjective pricing. And I don't know how much they were charging for it, but they should have been charging a lot because this is from the Himalayas. And we all know that's an exotic place right up there near Brigadoon or close to heaven. You know, clever stuff, clever naming, you know. Quality sounding names. So let's get our thinking caps on. Let's find a way of naming our products, particularly our subjective margin products. Let's give them a quality sounding name that allows people to, you know, Gold Class obviously is a good one. And you think, oh, Gold Class. Oh, well, of course we're paying $82 a seat for Gold Class. Now, I don't know whether you're getting anything, but you're certainly getting a name, aren't you? Gold Class tickets, you know. So let's work these in. The subjective margins waiting there for you if you can just come up with a quality sounding name. So let's be creative there. Royal Reserve in wine, movie tickets, platinum service, all of those things. But we're still going. High emotional experience, brides, weddings. Yay. It would be wrong to check the price. All wedding products, special anniversary products. You know, guys, if you take your loved one out, and like I say, you go and have a wonderful night, don't sit there and argue about the price at the end. It's just not going to work. You know, this was a special occasion. Price is not the issue, guys. Just pay the price and just get out. Tomorrow, worry about how you're going to pay it. But tonight, it's not about checking the price. Is there a high emotional experience? You know, if there is, there's a very good chance at products. So you might have a service that could sell to commodity type people or to high emotional experience people. Maybe we develop a business model where we only deal with high emotional experience because that's where the margins are. Does this make sense? So your skill is valued by all of these people, but I'm actually only going to provide it to people who it's a high emotional experience because that's where I can get the margins. How can I reach those people? How can I make a business around those people? That's what you've got to think. Where are the margins? One shots is another one where people pay extra to make sure they participate in or create a perfect event. Services relating to opening, a bit like yours, the Christmas tree. Product business launches, sports final, one-off entertainers, unless it's who's the guy that keeps retiring?
James Biden.
Yeah, don't be fooled. He'll be back. And a band's last tour, you know, like you buy these are one-off things that you can pay a lot for. I know, again, one of my clients, it was in events, and he used to do Mercedes launches and this sort of stuff. And you know what they would say to him? We don't care what you charge, just don't F it up. That was it. That was his instruction. The price did not matter. They had one chance a year to launch that Mercedes for 2014. Just the one night. That's it. We've got one night. We've gathered the whole planet together. They're here. So what he had to do is he had to have an electrician, a backup electrician, a backup of the backup electrician, and they all had to be standing in a line waiting because if something went wrong, he had to be able to call on them. He had a system of backing up so many things, and his price, 5 minutes, his price was immaterial. That was that because he was tapped in to a subjective margin with those people. Can you develop a business model around that sort of a customer? So those guys there. Have I finished? No, 2 more. Vital Small Cog. You've seen these vans around. You know what they sell? You haven't seen it. They sell hydraulic hose fittings. This long with a couple of brass ends, you know. Probably, you know, $2 here, $2 here, $3 here. You know, it's worth about $8 at Bunnings. Go down to Bunnings, you could screw one together for $8. But what they do, they're mobile. And what those pipes do is that they operate machines that cost $10,000 an hour. Darcy?
They got me to pay $480.
And what did you get?
I paid, and I said, like, I'd buy something for like,
$480. And what did he do for you?
He replaced 2 hoses.
2 hoses. And if you valued those hoses at Bunnings, $28.
Not even.
Not even. These guys are into subjective margins because they get guys like Darcy who have busted their pipes on a machine and he's stuck, he can't deliver his product. It's not the value of the pipes, it's the fact that he can then get back to his business. Those machines that dig like this, they're $10,000 a day to keep operating. The minute that hose goes psst, and it becomes dysfunctional, I am now losing $1,000 or $1,500 an hour. If this guy is round the corner and he buzzes around within 15 minutes and replaces that pipe and gets me going again, and he wants a check for $500, that's cheap because I'm losing $1,500 an hour. He gets me back for $500. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So he's not selling pipes. He's a small cog in a big wheel. Can you come up with a product that provides a solution and solves a problem in something that's much bigger? I know in cafes, if you could get me a replacement coffee machine when my coffee machine went bust, I would pay big money for that because I've lost whole days trade and probably lost a lot of customers. Sentimental value, similar to high emotional experience, but you know the cruises, funny thing they do in the cruise, they take all these photos, don't they, and they put them, I've done cruises, and they put all the photos at the end as you walk out, and you sit there and it's very hard to leave a photo of yourself on the wall, you know, because someone's taken this photo of you and you say, what I'm going to, but my photo is, you know, or my wife says, how do we know which ones are ours? That was a fun one. I'd say they're the ones with our pictures on them, you know. But there were so many. There was photos everywhere. And she said, how do we know which ones are ours? I said, oh, they'll be the ones with our photos on. Whatever, that's a joke. Sentimental value, because they provide great sentimental value. Have you got, you know, cruise liners do it, graduation people do it, don't they? You know, it's a one-off, it's a special event, high subjective value. Oh, there's one more, indulgence. Those of you that can provide indulgence are going to tap high emotional margin. Because when people are indulging themselves, think about you, when you indulge yourself at that chocolate place, that Death by Chocolate or the Hidden Valley Ergo Spa or something like that, none of you are thinking about price. All of you are thinking about just being guts. You know, you're all thinking about super indulgence, and when you're in that super indulgence phase, people forget price. Can you develop a product in your range that is about super indulgence? Can we get it so that for some people it is just, people are so keen to indulge the essentials that they lose sight of price. Example, a shop called Death by Chocolate that sells products that fully honour its name, and the Pampering Day bar for women. You just don't ask the price when you go and do one of those things. You just really don't. Okay, two things I'm going to have to give you to you to take home. That's good. So we've got Chris and those of you that have to go. There's two activities. I'll save these up for next on Thursday.